Hey, what's up? It's Soundwave Spectre, and this one might piss you off. So, I saw the new Last of Us rebuild for PS5 features and gameplay trailer, and immediately I was on the bandwagon beforehand. I was never going to watch this, and I thought this was totally going to be the $70 price point's ridiculous. It's probably a scam. But after watching the trailer, I kind of changed my opinion here. So, let's go into it, and I will explain my logic and defend my position here. So put the pitchforks away for a few minutes, and let's go. Let's check it out. I could already see my entire Discord right now.
If you're not with me, then you're my enemy.
But hopefully you guys hear me after the end, especially since The Last of Us 1 was one of my favorite games of all time.
I'm coming.
More than 2 years ago, when we were finishing Last of Us Part 2, and we were working on those flashbacks within that scene for the first game, we got excited with the idea of like, oh man, what if we made The Last of Us Part 1 to look as good, if not better, than what we have done with Last of Us Part 2, which we really pushed the boundaries of like what we could do from gameplay and a graphical standpoint, and felt like if we do that, we could actually come even closer to our original vision of what the first game would have been had we not been constrained by technology.
See, like, I understand the sentiment, but Last of Us 1 came out in 2013, and it still holds up really well. If you go back and play it, the graphics are not... You have to be the hoitiest person to have a problem with it. But if you also go and look at the HDR upgrades and stuff for the Last of Us remake that they already had, really was not bad at all. The graphics are still pretty solid. So is this $70 worth on this part alone? No.
The original creative vision of The Last of Us, I think in a lot of ways was larger than what the PlayStation 3 was capable of.
The tech of the PS5, it's like an open box of tools and goodies that we can play from and draw from.
Like, I get it. You can make it look better, but do you have to? Considering how many people have actually played it, and this is coming from a person, someone who actually loves The Last of Us. I even ran through the factions multiplayer, 4 full runs to get all the trophies for the regular PS3 version and for the PS4 version, which awful.
4K, HDR, improved haptics, 60 frames. Help us to reimagine The Last of Us.
Like, that doesn't look $70.
It gave us
They're showing even from the PS4 Pro to the PS5. They're not even showing it from the PS3 to the PS5. So personally, if you have the PS4 Pro version, it doesn't seem worth it already.
opportunities to rebuild our characters at the highest fidelity. Not only are the characters more detailed, I mean down to the irises and the pupil depth. You fall into the eyes of the characters.
Her face looks almost completely different.
Aside from that, the facial animation is just way more believable. Like all the nuances, all the little subtle reactions, glances, glare.
Which is where they actually flourished in the beginning.
Right? Like you get all of it almost closer to sort of the original performances.
So no matter what, you stick to me like glue. Like glue. Like glue. Got it. Good. Good.
We are able now to not only just have the highest fidelity characters in the cutscene.
Tess also looks significantly older, in my opinion, which is weird. I don't know. I mean, they also kind of widen out Joel's face a little bit, I feel like, and they definitely aged him as well. It fit more for part 2, in my opinion, than it did in part 1. And her changing up, aging up, is a weird choice for me.
But also in gameplay, it's the same character, so now we can do these seamless transitions in and out. Every part of the game has benefited from seamless transitions and emotional scripting.
Pretty good, huh?
Our stories happen in gameplay, on a stick.
She knew my mom.
All this stuff is designed to keep you constantly in this world.
Riley, come here. Now you got this, go.
One of the things that the PlayStation 5 is really enabling is that we're able to have a density of physics objects in a scene that we could never do before. Like, this has always been the dream, is to have this number of bumpables, chippables, breakables, destructible objects in a scene. It just makes the world feel rich, makes it feel lived in.
Like, yeah, that stuff is all nice, but it's not necessary.
Materials can have the properties that you'd expect. The turret truck in Pittsburgh, when it's firing at you and it's just ripping apart the concrete and sending objects flying left and right.
Seeing things break, like there's fear, there's a real fear that it invokes.
And it's giving...
I really feel like that's where your imagination would have previously filled in, and it was fine the way it was.
us a much more dynamic range of gameplay to play with.
Surround him!
Our AI tech has just increased incredibly. What we were building the basis off of was The Last of Us Part 2's AI. And it has sophisticated systems for things like the fundamental knowledge model of how these NPCs perceive and understand what the player is much more sophisticated.
See, that's pretty interesting. But the AI for The Last of Us was already extremely solid. They really hunted you down very well, especially in Part 2. So it is interesting that they would do that, but ultimately unnecessary. It sounds like something that could have been a patch for the remake that was already existed for PS4. Well, that's another thing. Like, I don't understand why they didn't just do an update for the PS4 remake to make it work for PS5.
Now how the enemies are communicating with each other, how they're chasing you, how they're flanking you, how intense that fight feels. It's so much more rewarding coming out of it from the other side.
I hope they don't shoehorn all the name thing that they did with the Part 2 to try and show you that they're actual people and every single character has a name, and it gets to the point where, oh no, they got Jim. Oh no, they got Alex. Oh no, they got Samantha. It became so gimmicky. Unrelated, this on hard, on grounded mode was like the worst experience of my gaming life.
Get out!
One of the other big AI improvements is the buddies. The buddies technology that we developed for The Last of Us Part 2 has this very sophisticated understanding of like, okay, this is where the enemies can see their exposure. We not only have exposure, we have future exposure. So buddies can know, okay, that enemy is walking forward and they're about to round this corner. So in 3 seconds, that corner is going to be exposed. So I'd better move now to avoid this enemy seeing me.
See, that's very interesting because it used to be very jarring when you just see Ellie just running across the screen when you're trying to sneak around clickers. So that's interesting. But again, is that $70 interesting? Not at all.
So really lets the buddies make very complex decisions and maintain that feeling of stealth much more believably. Another big enhancement to the gameplay is that we have this technology called motion matching. Motion matching is this technology that's basically using logic that tries to match the desired movement to a bucket of hundreds of animations. A mocapped actor has gone in and run this whole gauntlet of movements to get a really full set of all the different ways a person can move. And then it's basically every frame trying to find the best matching animation that fits the path of where the character is going to go. And
see, that was something I actually didn't love about Red Dead Redemption 2. They kind of had an animation for everything where it kind of detracted from the game a little bit. Like, they had an animation for picking something, each and every item out of the drawers, and it kind of just clunked up the game. I maybe, Naughty Dog will do it better, so I don't want to hold that against them. But it's also just, just unnecessary.
this motion model just gives this really seamless sense of transition. The player's movement is just a lot cleaner. It's this really smooth, organic movement through the space.
First, we just had to build that core experience. And then beyond that, we wanted to add several features that fans have been asking for.
Will say, I do love a good photo mode. Photo mode will add a good 3-4 hours to my gameplay all the time, just because I just like playing around with it. So that's nice. But that's something that could have just been added. I mean, Ghost of Tsushima added it just as a DLC, not even DLC, just as an update before their paid PS5 update. But their PS5 update was, $10, not $70.
For example, we now have a permadeath mode. Along that, we've added a brand new speedrun mode, so players can time themselves. There's a whole community of gamers that just want to see how fast they can play through this game.
A timer on the top right corner of your game is not worth $70. Let me just put that out there. Permadeath is kind of a cool idea, but you could have always played permadeath. You didn't have to have the game dedicate that to permadeath for you. But, you know, if they make an achievement, I guess that's cool.
Beyond that, we added a bunch more of unlockables. So there's all these different outfits for Ellie and Joel that people can unlock. A model viewer mode so people can really appreciate the details. We added award-winning accessibility features.
Now this is where I have a soft spot for. The Last of Us 2 was the pinnacle of accessibility in video games. So this, in my opinion, does make it worth it. So here's why.
Every single accessibility option that we offer, that's a barrier removed for someone.
As she surveys the apartment, her eyes wander to Joel. She steps past the couch. He wears the wristwatch Sarah gifted him, which now has a cracked face.
To my knowledge, this is the first PlayStation game that has audio description built into the game, built into the cinematics.
And if you've seen my channel before, I do audio descriptions for games. So this is very, very exciting to me that they're moving towards more accessibility. And I'm not the kind of person that thinks, every single game needs to be the most accessible game ever. I understand that there are limitations and stuff, but I like the zeitgeist of trying to move that way. And since The Last of Us 2, there's great YouTubers out there. Sightless Combat is one. He played the entire game on the hardest difficulty, completely blind.
Nice.
You were prone. Health 118.
Okay, we took a bit of a hit, but that's all right. Oh god, that drop could have easily killed me.
1 brick. 1
Yep.
brick. Stone enemies are vulnerable to triangle button,
Ooh.
grab and square button, strike.
So the fact that they could do that retrospectively is really awesome. Now, if you already have The Last of Us, I don't think this is worth it. But if you haven't, or if you are visually impaired or need accessibility options, then maybe you might find this to have some value to you. $70 though seems extremely overpriced to me. If you've never experienced it, maybe, but otherwise, oof.
Now it's nighttime. Joel stirs in his sleep.
And that's really the way we've tried to push the frontier of accessibility on this game.
I just feel like there's so many games that could have accessibility options so easily. Like any JRPG, right? The text readers. All you need is a text reader. Audio description is probably a little harder, but if you have maybe just a spitball on here, maybe a button that you hit, like swipe down on the touchpad, and it'll tell you a brief description of your surroundings at all times. Like The Last of Us 2. There's so much that can be done for accessibility, and I'm glad that Naughty Dog is doing that. Kudos on them, and they're getting a lot of, honestly, rightfully so. The Last of Us 2 was pretty divisive. I wasn't personally a fan of the story choices. Sorry. It's the pacing. Again, put the pitchforks away. Last of Us 1 was my favorite games, though, of all time. So Last of Us 3, I'm still going to end up getting it. But I personally would not get this for me. But I do think it's, with the accessibility changes that I made, I do see its value in existing.
So much of the identity of The Last of Us is the world.
We revamped completely the art direction. Everything from these expansive...
See, that's barely even a noticeable change. I feel like this part of the trailer is hurting their own argument.
vistas that not only are they beautiful, but You feel the environments. You feel the environments in a much more visceral way. The rooftops overlooking the Capitol building, for example, like just the breath of fresh air when you go up there and you just like, you feel that sort of release in tension. And then, to juxtapose that down in the tunnels in Wilds, and you get that dank, flooded tunnel feel, that humidity, you can actually feel it. All these environments are just completely reimagined.
Now we got our engine on the PS5, those haptics, the 3D audio, the fast loading. It really creates a much more immersive, and because of that, much more emotional experience.
One of the things I absolutely love with the 3D audio in The Last of Us Part 1 is being able to hear an enemy before they sneak up on you.
I mean, they're acting like this 3D audio is a game changer, and 3D audio definitely does sound a lot better. You do get good positioning information from the audio, but let's not detract from the original Last of Us that already had a pretty stellar sound design. This is kind of a not as revolutionary a tweak as they make it sound. I mean, maybe it is. Maybe once you get in there, it'll be a wildly different experience than it was. But I highly doubt that.
And trying to do a stalker fight with the 3D audio is just so much fun. You're hearing them skitter around in a different room, and you're hearing them trying to get it behind you. Having that two-part reaction of like hearing, turning, seeing, reacting, it just really heightens that sense of just being grounded. You are in this character, you are in this world. Now, with the PlayStation 5, the amount of control that developers have over the DualSense, it's really, really cool. All the guns in the game have a variable amount of resistance on the triggers when you aim them. The way it works with the bow is that at the very beginning, when they're starting to draw the bow, there's a little bit of resistance. And then as the bow gets tauter and tauter, the amount of resistance is increasing. And then when you release the bow, you're also getting that resistance going out of the trigger.
See, like, that's a really cool change, and I very much appreciate that. I love haptic feedback. It's such a nice feature. It adds a whole another element to immersion and stuff just in your hands, and that's so wild. But again, that's something I felt like should have been patched into the PS4 remake, not a $70 other purchase.
When you are aiming and firing the shotgun, you're going to get a haptic vibration on the shot. And then what I think is one of the ways that the DualSense really advances things is you're going to get a haptic vibration on the pump of the shotgun. And what's much more sophisticated about that on the DualSense is that in effect has a little like speaker in it. And it's playing an audio file that comes through in the vibrations. And those two beats is what you're going to feel on the controller.
Yeah, like that's cool. See, like again, if you charged me to upgrade the PS4 Pro version to the way many games do it, like I'm thinking Ghost of Tsushima or Marvel Spider-Man, they didn't even charge you for the remaster, but that should just be a paid DLC. It should not be a whole $70 side purchase like that. It just They lost a lot of goodwill to a lot of people with The Last of Us 2. They also gained a lot of goodwill. I know it's very toxic. You look into my Discord. We have a little hot take section, and I guarantee you, every single day, oh look right here, there is always someone arguing about whether The Last of Us 2 is garbage or not. So join the Discord if you want a chance to join that toxicity. But again, like I have no problem with this existing, especially with this accessibility, but $70 is $70. Like y'all know we're in a recession right now, right?
This looks like a good spot.
This also ties in to the new workbench animations. So if you're seeing Joel taking apart a gun or screwing something in or putting a new stock on a gun, that moment where he's like jamming that on, you're going to get that haptic feedback on that.
Get that quality gun cleaning ASMR content from Joel now. Like, comment, and subscribe Joel and Ellie's ASMR channel.
We have, haptics all across the board, for all the moments you kind of expect, for clambering, jumping, landing, meleeing, getting meleeed, like all those kind of high intensity moments we have represented in the haptics.
See, I do love that. I really do love that.
What I personally absolutely adore is the way we can enhance the really quiet, subtle moments of gameplay. So it's like when Joel goes in to pet the giraffe, getting that little light touch on the haptics as he's petting the giraffe. To me, that's the essence of The Last of Us. It's the high tension moments, it's the low tension moments, it's all of it feeling grounded. It's you're feeling immersed in this world. It's all about bringing you along with that story.
Everybody loves that freaking giraffe scene. I'm sorry, that was not my favorite at all. I think it's so overrated. Oh, my wife's laughing in the corner because she agrees, I bet. It's so cheesy. Yes, it's so cheesy, she says. I don't know. Everybody, it's the best scene. And it's not. Sorry. It was cute, I guess.
In as many ways as we can. And that's what the new technology on the PlayStation 5 is allowing.
So is that everything you hoped for?
Jury's still out.
There's something special about that core experience of playing as Joel and Ellie on this journey. Then to take that experience and really honor it and keep the authenticity of it, but elevate it in every way possible, whether it's pipeline, whether it's art direction, whether it's a technology, everything that allows us to make that experience better. Not different, extremely better. That's why, to me, this is the definitive way to play The Last of Us.
Yeah, your opinion's not, incentivized anyway. So yeah, do I think the game is going to be worth $70? Personally, for me, it's going to be a no. I'm not going to buy this for $70. But after recording this video, I did a little more digging, a little soul searching here, and watched a few other content creators' takes on the same trailer, and decided to hold off on releasing my version until I sat and I thought about it a bit. Well, everything I said, I still stand by. There are a few points that I want to make out as well that I didn't get to because I'm just a mediocre content creator and I don't really plan these too far in advance. So, almost immediately after making this video, I watched Griffin Gaming's take on the subject, and while I didn't agree with every point he makes in his video, I want to highlight one part of his video that he really got right here.
$70, maybe if I decide to stream it, but otherwise I don't really think it's worth $70 because the game's literally a decade old. They removed the entire multiplayer from it, and apparently the game is now more expensive than it's ever been with less content than it's ever had. Like, it really doesn't make sense on the price point, so I'll probably pick it up eventually on PC. I'm just not really wild about the $70 price point for what you're getting, and this is where my biggest issue with The Last of Us Part 1 lies. Like, it is a blatant ripoff for $70. Like, I don't really care how you spin it. Like, they literally removed content from a 10-year-old game and now expect you to pay $10 over the price of the game when it released back in 2013 with that missing content not there.
I was so distracted by the accessibility stuff that I totally forgot about the multiplayer. While it wasn't the best, the grind I did to get to max level 4 times for trophies somehow was forgotten to me and conveniently left out of their video. It was a fun enough multiplayer and really better than anyone expected it to be at launch. But since they are releasing Factions as a standalone multiplayer title down the line, they're not including it here, which means we traded an entire half of the previous package for more money, and all we gotten back is a speedrun timer. I mean, I know that's a little reductive, but still, it is crazy. Not even a promise of a place in an upcoming beta for Factions. Literally nothing. They ripped out a part of the game that was there, and people still play to this day. But back to play devil's advocate again, I really do appreciate just how The Last of Us Part 2 was, as far as I could tell, the absolute pinnacle of accessibility gaming. It really seemed like it was the most mainstream AAA title that was making leaps and bounds for the whole sect of gamers I didn't know existed until I worked at GameStop back in 2013. I'm so glad and appreciative for them to make these leaps and bounds, but this is the only reason they have any right to charge more than $20, in my opinion. However, I feel like it's kind of skelly to be charging such a price tag behind a sect of gamers that get so often crapped on and forgotten. It's not like they wouldn't make money off this either. Say they charged $20 for the upgrade. gamers who were previously passing on The Last of Us original version or the remastered version, right? They would still have to go out and buy the PS4 version of the game, which is $17 on Amazon right now. Keep in mind, it is a 10-year-old game that they already remastered, and then they would buy the upgrade. So you're still getting $37 there, Naughty Dog. So it's still not cheap. I love what they're doing, and I know this isn't free to make, but I still can't mentally justify the price tag of $70 when really the best part of this package is going to be accessibility. Since I've started this channel, I've done research on the topics and stuff. I've heard talk of an unknown to most, a blind tax, quote unquote, on games where visually impaired gamers pretty much have to buy games to find out if they're accessible or not, and then often return them or just eat the cost when they don't. A high price point like this, I guess, is a less of a gamble for them since they know what they're getting, but it just doesn't seem to sit right with me. In their defense, I'm sure it's a lot of work. I'm not someone who believes every single game can be super accessible all the time because I know it's a lot of work, I get it. But I think effort should be made where it could. Now, to Naughty Dog's credit, they do accessibility right, in my opinion. Every time a Souls game comes out, thousands of people cry that there should be an easy mode, and I vehemently disagree. I believe meaningful accessibility advances are not about lowering the bar of the game to be easier. It's about raising the capabilities of players, in my opinion. So, be that text-to-speech, high contrast mode, audio descriptions, colorblind settings, mappable controls, custom controllers, or the new Copilot mode from Horizon Forbidden West. I'm ecstatic to see more people being able to get back the passion of gaming thanks to features like these being implemented. And I don't mean to sound harsh, as I am truly grateful that they are putting out this force of good. I just can't help but feel that the reveal here is a little muddied with the price point. Anyways, let me know what you guys think. Is the price point too high? Is the fact that they're doing something better than nothing, like most games, make it worth it? Let me know in the comments below. Drop a like if you enjoyed the video, and be sure to subscribe if you enjoy what we're doing here, trying to make games a little bit more accessible for everybody. Once again, I'm Soundwave Spectre. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.